Guys, I did want to talk this morning about the EchoStar Starlink deal because it's an important one and it's having an impact on any number of stocks well beyond EchoStar itself, shares of which are up another 20%. Remember, it was only a couple of weeks ago we got that $23 billion sale of spectrum owned by EchoStar to AT&T, which sent the stock flying, completely eliminated what had been concerns about bankruptcy for this company. Well, a lot of the speculation after that centered on additional spectrum that conceivably would be good for Starlink because it would help its direct-to-cell business, so to speak, what it is focused on in terms of what it calls coverage anywhere in the world, operate and their direct-to-cell business using that constellation, of course, that they have up there of Starlink of some 8,000 satellites. And we got a deal, and it's a large deal. It's roughly $17 billion. It consists of $8.5 billion in cash, and they're getting $8.5 billion of SpaceX stock.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Huh?
Now, exactly where that's being valued, I couldn't determine, but that's interesting in and of itself. Obviously, SpaceX, a private company, nonetheless. EchoStar will be a significant holder of their stock. And then they're also getting another $2 billion of cash interest payments on their debt. So, I mean, we already eliminated any thoughts about bankruptcy, not to mention even significant indebtedness, given the $23 billion sale of spectrum to AT&T. Well, now the balance sheet's looking pretty pristine. What do they have? I mean, they got Boost Mobile. They do a deal, by the way, there as well as part of this deal in which Boost Mobile will benefit. They have a long-term commercial agreement, so Boost Mobile subscribers through its cloud-native 5G cord will access SpaceX's next-generation Starlink direct-to-cell service. But why the pressure on T-Mobile, on Verizon, on AT&T? Because there is a perception that this puts Starlink in a position, and there's plenty of debate around this, to be the fourth carrier. It's not clear that that's where their focus is right now, and even in their own discussion of it on their website, they really talk more about this being enabling coverage anywhere in the world in terms of servicing areas where you really can't get a call through and you need an emergency call or something along those lines, not necessarily to create some sort of nationwide carrier that would compete with AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mo for cell service. By the way, the spectrum in question here is for cell service, not for broadband, Jim. We have often talked here at this desk about the significant competitive aspects of Starlink service for the likes of Comcast and Charter, what that means for broadband. That's not this spectrum. That's different spectrum. So this is really, okay, you can use the spectrum to complete a call via satellite to your cell phone.
Okay, so I got last week the $60 offer from Starlink for one of my places.
That's for broadband.
That's for broadband.
That's for broadband.
But I immediately canceled my provider to save 50%. And it's faster and it's better. Now, how do you compete with faster and better?
You don't necessarily. We've made the point many times, especially once the Starship gets up and going and how many satellites they'll be able to release to vastly increase the capacity of the overall number of, the 8,000 satellites will go to a lot more than that, what they call their laser mesh. But right now, I think there's going to be plenty of debate around whether this really will at some point represent a competitive threat to the incumbents in the wireless market here in the country. By the way, Comcast and Charter also play significantly in the wireless market, but are already seen to a certain extent, I think, some concern that these guys have been taking some share from them, really in more rural areas, because Starlink does not operate in urban areas.
Right, I have a rural place.
Yeah.
Not my primary residence.
Well,
that we know of.
Yeah.
No, when I filled out the form, I was very careful.
Got it.
Because I had four other primary residences.
Right. You have 9 residences, but only one is primary.
Only one is covered by primary. This. Only one is covered by this.
What is? I don't even know how you define primary, because you're moving around a lot. Avoid your enemies. They never know.
True.
Yeah.
But anyway, the farm that I picked that is off the grid, somehow they found me and offered me this. They're the only ones that found me.
You
but
put
I'll
up a
tell you,
Starlink, they're definitely going to be able to find you.
It's, Verizon has cut down so many of my darn trees to put up something that doesn't even work. That, I got to tell you something, Verizon, you may be done. You may be out of that tree game. Charge a lot for trees.
Did they charge a lot?
Well, I just want to take one down.
But so a broad impact right now from this large deal. In fact, the biggest deal we got this morning, obviously, it's $17 billion, and interestingly, $8.5 billion of a private company stock. But where was SpaceX's last round? Somewhere around $400 billion, right?
Yes,
maybe more.
I thought for sure you were then pivot to the incredible PNC deal that would never be allowed in the previous regime.
I'm going to let you do that.
Well, I just think that if we're going to begin having national banks, PNC buying First Bank, a Colorado-based bank for $4 billion, is this the beginning? Because we always knew that these big acquisitions were done unless there was a distressed property. PNC wants to be national. I think it can happen. It makes me feel, what happens to Key? What happens to First Horizon, which was once in play? What happens to H-Band, Huntington? I mean, I think.